Active FM. Radio has never been better.
What's up?
Hey, welcome you, listener,
This is the movie show.
on your favorite and the only ORSPS
Yes, definitely.
that you want to listen to.
Yes, I'm Sash.
My name is Ryan.
And we are going to be discussing a film that was seriously underrated. Like, honestly, this film was so underrated. It's not
Yes.
even funny.
Yes. Can I say, when it started, I was like,
No?
oh no. Like, no, not one of these. Okay, keep an open mind, right? Keep an open But then, I don't know what that's the beginning. The beginning just...
Actually, Ryan, as a man,
And then
as
it
a
went-
male, please tell us your thoughts on, let's just tell them the movie first that we are discussing.
Yes.
So we are discussing a film that was made or released rather in 2006 called One Night with the King. It is a drama romance and it actually is based off of a biblical story. It is the story of Esther. So it's a Bible story turned into a film, just in
Yeah.
case you're wondering. Yes. So Ryan, what did you know when you went in? Nothing.
I knew which Bible story it was about.
Oh, so you actually knew it was about a
Yes.
Bible story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because that happened, it was something that happened. You know, I knew that's what happened. Because that happened, the movie, there was no surprise for me.
But
I was like, oh yeah, right. So when I watched the film, yeah, I enjoyed, there was nothing captivating for me, story-wise. But then I was looking at how, the production, the actors. There was one actor in here that I knew, and I was like, this guy. If you guys, not. Well, I don't know how many people have watched, or as currently you are watching the Fringe series. Fringe, yes.
is there a guy?
There's a guy in there, the
Who?
Fringe.
Who?
It's the this guy over here.
The uncle.
This dude. Yes, this guy.
Oh, he's actually a very well-known actor. He was in Lord of the Rings.
That's
I
right.
also recognized him.
And he was
I was
also
like, I know
in-
this guy
he
from
was also
somewhere.
in Lord-
He
in
was in
fact,
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
we actually watched the Fringe. So my wife loves watching films that has a character that's likable. Those are the new films. So like Thor, she likes obviously Thor, and she likes this guy in the Fringe. In the Fringe is it's very scientific. It's quite.
Is it a series or
It's a series. Yes. And she likes it because of this guy,
John
And-
Noble.
Yeah, he plays as a father who used to work for the US government as an experimental scientist, like crazy stuff, like very crazy scientific stuff. So now in the Fringe, they're solving like weird things that people are doing, and because he's been there, so he understands. But he's a bit weird. Yeah, he's a bit weird. So you can imagine with that smile and he's Australian. I didn't even know he was Australian. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, this guy. Oh, cool. Okay, this guy. And then the other guy was obviously Luke. Yes, Luke.
Luke?
Luke Goss. Is that how you say it?
Oh, yeah.
Luke Goss.
Do you know him?
I don't know him, but his face I was just like, okay.
Apparently, I think he's a drummer.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for quite an old band. But I was just interested in who he was as well. And then there were things about the film that I was like, oh, okay. That was really, like, for example, I mean, every actor felt very positioned, if I can put it that way. So when they were walking, they were like, positioned with their hands like this, and they were very like, because it was like royalty, and it was all we're the king, and we're the king's palace, and we're the king's god, and we're like, and then there were some places the way that the actors acted was very good, but the sets were brilliant. I liked the sets. I could see when there was CG though. So there was already CG. There was CG in the film that I was like, oh, they use CG, and it was set extensions.
Yeah.
And then I loved the way that they really dramatized the end. They did that super well. Like, it was very like...
Even though you know what's going to happen yourself.
Exactly. And I love the way, because we all know what the king did. Like Esther approached the king, and then but then in this film, like his whole attitude was different.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. That caught me off guard. I was like, wait, I know what happens, but is it gonna happen? Type of thing. But yeah, look, it works out very well. I'm just saying, the first couple sequences, you just like, okay. All right, it was a very good biblical story. You're like, okay, it was a very good biblical. Just hear the message.
As in the beginning of the film.
Yeah, I'm just like, just get the message right and powerful, man. It was so good. But then, like I said, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they shot in like linear order, and the first couple of shots were just a bit, I don't know. Like the first shot, one or two of the first shots you see is Mordecai, and just the way the camera's like positioned. And even the lighting on him just looked very unnatural, and the shots and the way that the actors played out, it just felt very like, oh, okay, this could be very cheesy. But then, and then it carried on, and I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. Okay, the way that was really good. And then I forgot.
Yeah. You got immersed into the story.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the one actor I recognize, there are other actors, so like the John Noble, I did recognize his face, but I couldn't place him until I searched, and I was like, oh yeah, he was in Lord of the Rings. The one person who immediately I was just like, yep, know him, was John Rhys Davies. I don't know if you know, has been,
I've seen him
he
around.
was Gimli in Lord of the Rings, he was in Princess Diaries, he was in, there's another series called The Shannara Chronicles, he's like everywhere, so I immediately recognized him, obviously. And then apparently Peter O'Toole, he played the prophet Samuel, like in the beginning, for that quick like flashback sequence.
That's right.
He apparently is a well-known actor, and they actually even used the fact that he was in the film to almost promote it, yeah. Okay. But his role was very, very small. Tiffany DuPont, who played Hadassah or Esther, she actually, so how she ended up getting the role was at her church. I think the church that, I'm not entirely sure which church it is, but there was a church where it was birthed from, if I could put it like that.
As in where this whole...
Yeah, so like where
cool.
they decided to... So they would be announcing it obviously in services, and I think they had auditions open for people to come and actually audition. And she just attended the church and then auditioned, and she still said she wasn't even sure if she was going to get the role, because like she'd auditioned for it, her best friend had auditioned for it, like so many people had auditioned, and she actually ended up getting the role.
So this was like one of those films where they try to, like, everybody try to contribute, or
yes, I think so.
They didn't like get professional everything. They just tried to and see how they could make it work with a small budget. Yeah, type of thing.
The budget was $20 million, which is pretty good, but it is also a pretty small budget, especially for this scale of production, because they really did. I mean, if you look at like when they go to the battlefield, like, do you understand what I'm saying?
And it was good.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, it was
like
good.
The costume design. I mean, that would have cost them
great.
so much. It was, and it was so good. It really was so good. So the budget was quite little. For me, I'm disappointed because they only got $13.7 million in box office, which means they didn't even make up what they spent for the film.
Yeah.
Which for me, I'm like, this was actually a good film.
And I saw that 13 million was made like on the release weekend type of thing.
Oh, so it wasn't even made after.
Yeah.
The other crazy thing about this film is that it took 3 years to get to reach theaters. So it was filmed in 2003, but it only reached cinemas in 2006. And I think it's because they just couldn't get it into theaters, and they obviously wanted a theatrical release. But I feel like just because this film was based on a Bible story, I feel like that's why it was underrated. Yeah. And for me, that's not fair. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's actually a part of history. It's a historical story.
It
actually did happen. And you know, when other religions or whatever go and make a film, you don't see. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not like their films get. So I think this film was it was underrated because it was just a story about God. Like literally, that's that's the only reason why it was underrated. So it took 3 years to actually only reach cinemas. And then also for me, I saw this while I was actually doing research, and I was slightly confused. So the film's UK DVD release was actually titled The Princess of Persia. Despite the fact that Esther was queen, they titled it Princess of Persia, and they gave it an action-orientated cover where Esther is wielding 2 swords.
Yeah, I saw that. I
was like, that's not the movie. And then I was like, oh, okay, it is the movie.
I don't remember her fighting.
No. And apparently it was in an attempt to capitalize on the unrelated film Prince of Persia, The Sand of Times, which that film, we've even done it. That was made in 2010, which was released in UK theaters 3 days earlier. So they kind of had to like pull up some, I don't know if it worked. I'm not sure if it worked, but there is a very action orientated film poster out there of Queen Esther holding 2 swords.
Well, that would have been disappointing.
Right? For a person who, And then the other thing is none of the actors are Iranian or of Jewish descent. So all of them, I must be honest, that was one thing in the film I was just like, was the accents. They didn't stay true to...
That's what made it even more...
Yeah, so like the king had a very like British accent, like...
We've spoken about this before. I think it's when we did Passion of the Christ, where I said most Christian films, like, but older Christian films, they're like all proper and British. Yes. My lord, why did you... and you're just like...
That's not really accurate to the timepiece. Then make it modern and put it in another country.
Although, like, a lot of their costumes that I looked at, I was like, do they really wear that? Like, did they really? Like, I saw the king and he wore this, like...
I do think they...
mesh thing with these, like, golden...
Look, I do think they...
And like his palace or that room, wherever he was, like had those
drapes.
The drapes. And
I think that is accurate.
You think so?
I do think so. It was obviously like Persia and Babylon, and it's all of. Yeah, I do think
Babylon.
I think. I'd imagine they would have done research. I don't think they would have just gone into the film I'm sure the costume, the production designer and the whole costume and set design team would have looked into, like what exactly did that day and age look like.
I guess they would have.
Because it wouldn't make sense for them to go to all that trouble when it's not even accurate.
And then there were another 2 characters, Tommy Lister.
He played Haggai.
Yeah. I thought he was really cool.
Yeah, he was really cool.
He was like just... and apparently he's blind in one eye.
I can imagine that. You can see it.
You could see the one eye. Yeah. If you actually see the movie roles that he's played, like...
It's normally like action.
This is not quite... This is like quite a weird film for him. Because he's actually he actually died in 2020.
Serious?
During the COVID...
I don't know that.
It's COVID related.
Oh, shame. That's hectic.
Yeah. And you know the actor that played Haman?
He looks nothing like he looks in the movie. He doesn't look anything like himself. When I saw a picture of him, I was like, that's not him.
I liked his acting though.
No, his acting was very good. I'd say possibly he was the best actor out of the whole cast.
Definitely.
I think he did a very, very good job. You hated it. I think this is what it goes down to, which we've spoken about before. When you watch Christian films, often the villain is saved, which means they've got smiling joy of the Lord on their face, but they're being the bad person, and you're just like, it's not even relatable. Whereas with him, his whole demeanor was like evil.
No,
like you didn't like him from the first frame you saw him.
Like the voice that is pure. Yeah. There's the one part that I thought was really good cinematography, which I thought was really getting off the just put a camera on him and shoot him. Was when he's trying to sort of rouse the people up to go against the Jews. Like if you look at the actual shot, it was a shot taken from far and almost zoomed in on him. So, it was as if it was like a more third person looking at him with the smoke in front. So, like, stuff like that made the film more, I watched it and I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I must be honest. So the one thing, but this isn't the film. I can't bash the film for this. It was the time the film was made in.
I think so. Yeah.
The editing style was so early 2000s. Like if you watch the fades and
That's what I was saying.
the slow down, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. They didn't film it.
They
in
did
like,
that in the beginning a lot.
Yes. So the slow down is like very jerky because.
What did you think of whenever something impactful happened, the guy, like the editor put it like 3 times. Like someone comes to the door.
Yes.
I was just like,
Like,
okay,
really?
I guess it does work, kinda. I guess he really
But
liked.
I think that was just the style of the day. Because like
I
if you
think
watch,
so.
I mean, there's Michael Bay films like that. I don't know if you remember The Island with Scarlett Johansson. That film was edited the exact same way. Like it was the early 2000s like hype, and yeah, it was
Off
very
with his head.
and then in slow-mo, but it's like they're moving like that because they didn't film in
Nobody
lots
have
of frames per second. So
They
they
have a high frame rate camera there.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there was
There was a lot of natural acting. There was, just help me out. So there was a older character that was almost like the sort of, he was with the king a lot. In fact, when John is it Noble? When John Noble's character, when he was caught out,
Yes.
and then the king was questioning him, there was a guy like to his side that was also like, instead of saying, "But didn't you wada," he like crossed his arms like this. But you were the one that did it like this. I'm like, yeah, that's the way you would do it. So there are some actors that I was like, yeah, that was good.
The acting
really great.
for me, I've seen way worse.
Yeah.
Most Christmas films, acting is worse.
Right.
In fact, there's a new film that just came out on Netflix called The Perfect Pairing. The acting is way worse in that film, and that was a 2022 film.
Yeah.
Way worse than this
Yeah.
film. So honestly, it's not
I
a.
didn't find any acting too bad.
Yeah, no, there wasn't any.
I wasn't troubled with it.
No.
It was just like what we just spoke. Some of the editing was just.
Yeah, the editing was funny,
But then as the film progressed,
Yeah.
it was like, okay.
no, it was.
I forgot about it. It's actually quite good.
And you know, I love how because they did have to fictionalize things, obviously, because there is the book, and
Yes.
they would have. But I loved also how they in the beginning show you that Haman was actually a descendant of the Aggites.
Was that true?
That's true.
So it is true.
Yes. So in
I was
other
like,
words,
no wonder.
King Saul, when he
Oh.
disobeyed, he actually his disobedience was going to affect his own race, the Jewish race.
Wow.
He was going to cause them to be exterminated just because he didn't listen. That's actually an effect.
Wow.
That's why he got, God
Sure.
decided you are no longer king, because
Yeah.
his one act of disobedience caused Haman down the line.
You see-
So I loved how they fit that in.
People didn't get that. Because in the beginning, I'm like, wait, that's Saul, isn't it? And that's Samuel. And that's, is that, and did she, are they, she's pregnant? That's the guy, the boy, isn't it? Like the boy came back with vengeance. He's
Yeah,
like
like a
in my
lot of
mother's wound,
vengeance.
I knew it. It's like,
Yeah, so
sure.
that was intense.
Maybe that's why, because a lot of sort of non-Christians, they sort of whatever, they really put this film down. Like it was, like on Rotten Tomatoes, like 16% or something.
Do you know what the stupid part is? Is Esther's the one book in the Bible that actually doesn't mention God. It doesn't mention, it's a story about God's people, and obviously it speaks about faith and trust in God, but it never says, and God, in other books she'll say, and God sent whatever.
Yeah.
This book literally, so it's an relatable story for people who aren't Christians, if you think about it, because it's half of the story is about people who didn't believe in God. I mean, King Xerxes was not a believer. He was not a Jew. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the fact that they bashed it is stupid because they don't even know. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
I could have easily, I sort of thought that to myself halfway through the film. I'm like, does this work out as a like Prince of Persia type of film? Because at the time, the time that it took place. So this is like one of those, cool, old, swords and Persians and one of those type of films. I'm like, yeah, definitely, easily.
Yeah, for me, it was honestly, one thing I love about this film, though, is that they did stay true to the Bible. They didn't go off and make weird changes or do stupid things. One film I honestly hate is the film Noah. I don't like the film Noah, because they took a biblical story and they literally they changed it so much.
Put some other stuff in there.
It was hard. Oh, and there was that other one, Exodus, Gods and Kings. That one also I didn't like, where they depicted God as a child. Those two films, I was like, why would you take Bible stories and change them? You don't need to change them.
Didn't they in Noah, the demons were helping Noah or something? Remember, there were those demons.
And then there was that one dude that survived. And
he was on the ark. And
it was just,
because they were destroyed, and then Noah was evil. I was just like.
So those two films, they took Bible stories and they didn't do it justice. Yeah. This film, they took a Bible story and they did it justice. They're doing what the Chosen series is now doing. That's what they did with this film.
I would, in fact, I was actually going to say that earlier. I feel like this is a much earlier thing of what they were doing with the Chosen.
With the Chosen, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know. Like, if there's any listener out there that did not know the story of Esther and they watched this film, I would love to know what your thoughts were. How captivated, because not knowing what was going to happen. Because especially, like I said, there at the end of the film, when Esther's about to get slaughtered by this knife. Like, I really thought, like, I knew the story, but then I was just like, wait, is this really they're
gonna kill her?
I love the way they dragged that out, like how close, because when I read the Bible, in my imagination, like, there weren't other people there in the king's, there wasn't, and he wasn't angry, because he was still like, what was his words? Anything you ask, up to half the kingdom. But in this film, it's like, people are there. They're all like, what is she doing? She still comes in. She's wet.
Wet, yeah.
I'm still like, what? Did she come wet? And she even dares to take another step forward onto the steps. I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. you should wait for the king to come down and the scepter and all of that. Yeah. And then there was still like the earlier, they met earlier. And there was like all of that. So,
but even the end scene where the king walks out. So she's told him, and then he walks out. You're just like, and then Haman starts like attacking her, and you're just like,
that's what I'm saying.
And then he walks back, and you're like, oh, praise the Lord.
You. And then someone grips him, and
yeah, no, that was good because you didn't expect it. Yeah,
you see. So even if you know the story of Esther,
the way they told it,
just watch this. It is good.
No, it's very good.
And like I said, just like maybe you might find what I found in the beginning. You're just like, maybe not. Just watch. Yeah. Just keep watching.
So the director is Michael O. Sajbal.
Yes.
And he's actually directed quite a few films.
Yeah.
So he did, in 2006, he did The Ultimate Gift. I remember that film. It was where there's a very rich man and he passes away and his whole family comes to find out like who's getting what type of thing. And there's this young dude that's just
that
like, yeah. So he did that one. And then he's actually been doing films from like the 1990s. So 1997, he did a film called The Ride. He did a film called The Homecoming. He did, in more recent years, 2014, he did Irreplaceable. And then in 2017, it looks like a horror film called Wrath. I think that's, but I mean, that one looks like
coming at the end times, prediction of COVID. I don't know.
I wonder what it's about, actually. I'd be interested to go and watch his other films.
Yeah, it's probably one of those,
We should find out, right?
Yeah.
Like he got unsaved and started doing horror movies.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Let's hope that's not the case.
All right, let's all pray for Michael. Shall we?
For Michael. What's funny is last week we did a film about Michael Bay. And by the way, maybe you're like, wait, but didn't you guys say at the end of last week's show that you were doing a film with Mark Wahlberg in it? Yeah, so what happened with that film? Did you even start watching it? No. So it's a film called Father Stu, right? Father S-T-U. Right, Mark Wahlberg. So I started watching the film, and we're like, okay, he's really messed up. He's really sad. He moves to another town, and then he decides he falls in love with a girl, and she goes to a Catholic church. Yeah, she goes to the Catholic church.
Yes.
And then so he falls in love with her, and then eventually he decides he's going to become a priest. But in order for you to be a priest, what do you have to be?
You must be not married, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he breaks the poor chick's heart, and then it was just, when you're just like, this is rubbish. This is rubbish.
That's Spider-Man 3
no,
again.
but it didn't even change. He was still swearing, and his life was a complete mess. And
so it was just a.
we didn't even get to the end of the. And then he ends up getting sick, which means he now can't finish the becoming a priest. But then, and it's based on a true story. And eventually, I was just like, no. So that's why we canned that one and found a proper Christian film that's been underrated.
Yes, even better than Father Stu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a weird film.
And by the way, for any guys who do 3D out there, there's a guy called Stefan Blin. Yes, Blin is a material type. Or the Blender or CGI, like Blin, yeah. So maybe.
What did he do? The screenplay.
It was a screenplay. Yeah.
Wow.
It's Blin.
Blin.
Sorry, that surname caught me. Blin.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a very underrated Christian film.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good. It really, really is good. And it's a good, we don't have a lot of, okay, there's obviously the Passion of the Christ, which is a good depiction of the Bible.
What year was Passion of the Christ?
I think it was later than this film.
Later. So you see, we're stepping it up.
I could be wrong though.
But I mean, for 2006, this must have been a brilliant film.
And technically it was made in 2003.
Where was I in 2006?
I remember watching this film in cinemas.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Passion of the Christ came out in 2004.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was
There you go.
actually made before the Passion of the Christ, but it came out after the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
And then obviously Noah and Exodus I'm not counting because those did not stay true to the Bible.
We watched Noah. We were just like, what?
No, man.
No.
It was just like, really?
Yeah.
In Exodus, Gods and Kings, they changed it so much that like God he wasn't divine in a way. Like they took out the divinity of God.
Who did Noah? It was...
Noah was with Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Exodus, Gods and Kings had Christian Bale in it. I stand to be corrected, but I think it had Christian Bale in it. But I just remember they depicted God as a child.
Oh.
God was a child.
Oh, really?
It was like, what? And then at one point, Moses was upset with God for some reason. I don't know why he was upset with God, but he was upset with God at some point. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we all... Well, I don't know. Those demons were cool, I must say. Like CG-wise, yeah. Like they were... I think that was the only cool part of the film.
The rest of it was like, meh. Yeah.
It was quite creative.
But I petition. Do you know there are such crazy stories in like 1 Kings and 2 Kings? Do you know the type of films those movies? Like you would have to have like, if you are a gory person, there is so many stories to be made. Like.
And the Bible gives detail on these things.
Yeah. For me, my favorite one is, when the one, I think it was the king, I think it was Ahab, I stand to be corrected though, and he went into battle disguised. And then this dude the Bible literally says he randomly shot an arrow and it hit the king in between his armor. But for me, I always pictured that dude that randomly shot the arrow as like the weakest link in the army. Like he got teased by everyone. He was good for nothing. He got bullied. He couldn't shoot straight. And he just happened to shoot the one arrow that went and hit I think it was King Ahab. And then he died. He literally... That would be such a cool story to make.
Yeah, I mean, King Saul fell on his sword. And then another guy came and he was like, please help me. And then he like helped him die.
He helped him die.
I mean, it was...
brutal times.
David's son, what's his name? Joab. Is it Joab?
No, Absalom.
Amnon. No, the one that whose hair got caught on the tree. And then he was dangling. And he was still alive. I mean, his men were like... Let's go help him. Like, no, and then they cut off his head or something. They
stabbed him, and cut off his head.
What?
Intense times, man.
You see, we can make some good films.
You see? But I honestly thought this was a good one.
Yeah.
And I do think, as a guy, you were fine with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's because sometimes it would be
I was going to say that earlier, and there's a bit of a love story because, like, the king's mad with Esther, and you're like, no, don't be mad with her. Come on, man. And then at the end, I love you, and, like, he catches her in the step, and then, like...
Wasn't he mad with her because he thought she was messing around?
Yeah, anyway, so there you go. and you do kind of like the king. You're like, good
Yeah,
guy.
the king was cool.
And he's heartbroken, man.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, kill the Jews, because he was just heartbroken. It's not because he had nothing against the Jews.
Haman was just using his.
Yeah.
Moral of the story is don't be heartbroken.
Yeah.
People.
When you're heartbroken, you just
make
die.
stupid.
Die. Everyone, just die.
That's why we have chocolate nowadays. Unfortunately, they didn't have chocolate in those days. Chocolate is the perfect.
Yeah. So tonight I'm gonna go. I'm busy watching the Fringe series. So I'm going to carry on watching it.
I've given up hope on series. I'm back to
No, the Fringe is good, eh?
Is it good?
Yeah, there's no like funny stuff in it.
No, but you know what my problem is with series? They drag the story out unnecessarily because they need screen time, and it irritates me.
Yeah, true.
Sherlock Holmes didn't do that. Stranger Things doesn't do that. Yeah, I can't really say anything else for the other series. I've stopped watching like 3 series.
My wife started watching something over the weekend. And she's like, okay, this looks good. Then some swear. And she's like, seriously? Exit. Is there anything out there?
Series are the worst because nudity, the whole bisexual, transsexual, sexual, that sexual immediately comes out. And then, do you know, I started watching a series, right? One of the actors in the series is a Christian. As in, he posts on Instagram about worship music, about reading the Bible. They ask him what he's reading in the Bible. He tells them. In this series, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. You know, he's a Christian. Cool. Let's watch the series. He's bi. He kisses a guy in the series.
What is his excuse? Oh, that's my little brother, man. That's my brother. Or was it a passionate?
As in he's bisexual. I'm like, you're the Christian. Do you not see what they got you to do? They made you do that. I was just like, ready? Okay, cool. So now we can't even trust Christian actors because, you know.
What was your conviction, dude? Were you convicted? Was there anything afterwards that made you feel...
You were reading Corinthians. Hello, go read Corinthians. What's wrong with you, man? You didn't read it properly. Go read it again.
Lord, use me, please.
That wasn't the Lord, man.
I was trying to use you.
And you know they pay more if you like...
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, if you're not gay or bisexual or whatever, and you do a scene where you kiss a male or... Yeah, they'll pay you extra.
No. Okay, so that's another topic for another week.
Yep.
What do you do if
you don't take the role?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna start another show like that on Active FM. What to do if, and then
what to do,
and then every week we discuss what to do if. What to do if you lost your cell phone and you got 20 seconds. Okay,
that's intense. Yeah, but for the movie show,
I won't be doing that. I'm just joking. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this has been a very underrated Christian film. Good Christian film. If you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And look out for Stefan Blin. Stefan, right? Because Stephen would be S-T-E-V.
Or Stefan?
Yeah, Stefan. That's it.
Stefan
Blin. That's him. Look for him. I'm showing him on screen right now for those movie show podcast on YouTube viewers. And by the way, if you're listening, go check out our on Active TV. Go to the playlist. Go look for the movie show podcast. There is a visual version of the show, and for those who are watching the visual version show, good for you! Give us a like and subscribe.
Comment down below.
Yes, and hit a comment. There you go.
Yeah. So this has been the movie show
on Active FM.
Peace.
Till next week.